The prize money boom in recent times means it's now more realistic than ever for the top darts players to live a life of luxury. For example, the next world champion will net themselves £1 million. Not too shabby, is it? In this video, we're going to be going through the top 40 prize money earners in darts history. And joining me to do so are Sporting Life darts expert Chris Hammer and former pro and darts commentator Paul Nicholson. Paul, I've had a flick through the list. You're not on here. What's...
Well, it's a fair point. I mean, my best season on the Pro Tour, away from all of the big stage stuff, I was in the top 5 earners of that season, and it wasn't even £40,000 playing a lot of tournaments. Things are very, very different these days, and it's great to see that these young stars and existing stars and people who have stayed within the sport for the past couple of decades have taken advantage of these prize structures increasing, not just away from the big stages, but also wherever they go.
Do you ever feel, oh, if only my career was a little bit later on, I'd have been in this.
If only I'd been born in the 90s.
Someone said once that a pound can be spent, but a championship will last forever. 5 PDC titles, which is what I have, that will last forever. If we didn't work hard in the early 2010s, then maybe that hard work wouldn't yield what we have now, giving these new guys and the existing stars the chance to earn a little bit more.
Okay, let's get into the list. I'm going to go through the top 40. We'll start with the bottom 10, all of which have surpassed £1 million. So looking at the list then, 40 to 31, any names on there that jump out to you?
Well, the first one for me is Glenn Durham, because obviously he spent the majority of his career in the BDO. Then he jumps over to PDC in the twilight of his career, and he manages to bank so much money by winning the Premier League. He had a really good run, although it was quite short run before he lost his form. He still managed to get over £1 million, which just shows how much money was coming into the game at that point, and how a late starter to PDC darts managed to get so much money out.
Yeah, we talk about a 5-year window with Glenn, and I remember doing an interview about Glenn around 2019 when he decided to join the PDC. I said he's got a really tight window here. I wasn't saying that his career was going to end within the next few years. I was saying because of the way he's playing, he's got this one chance to bank as much money and as many titles as possible. He did a superb job of this. But if you think about, say, 2016 to about 2021, that was his window. And he did a really good job, averaging about £200,000 to £250,000 a year, which is a superb effort, winning the Premier League and winning other PDC titles. So did he maximise that 5-year window? I have to say yes.
Yeah. Looking at this list then, are there a lot of players that just had a golden era of their career where they racked up the money, they racked up the prize money? Or is there a lot more longevity about the numbers that have been accrued?
I think in this section we're talking about longevity. We're talking about more players like Andy Hamilton, for example, who been around for at least 2 decades. And then we can talk about other people in this list. Vincent van der Voort. I know that Vincent started in the BDO in the mid to late 90s. So we're talking about earners season in, season out, and racking up a decent career total. But then if you grade them against people who are still around, they're different types of earners that we've got right here. So you applaud Van der Voort for his longevity and able to, bank 7 figures in his career. But there are other people who have got ... after their name because they've done well to be there, but they've still got more to come.
Just go with 2 quick names. Jose de Souza won it in a very tight time.
Yeah.
And Nicholson might surprise a few people watching this.
Yeah, I think it probably would. But you tend to forget that Nicholson has made the final of a Lakeside and won it in 2006. And that was a fairly sizable chunk of cash at that point in time. But he also made the semi-final of the World Championship in the middle of the 2010s, when we're talking about 80, 90 grand. That's more than what he won when he won Lakeside. So these little spots where he's banking a big sum of money, that is obviously run up to where he is in this ranking table. So not surprised to see Clausen there whatsoever. But I think de Souza, with his tight window, some people may be surprised by that.
Okay, Chris, before we move on, one name I'm surprised not to see on there is the great John Part.
Yeah, I think Paul did some research and found he was agonisingly close in the 900,000s, which that's unjust for a player who won 3 world titles in 3 different venues.
Yeah, I think to a lot of people watching this, they'll think that someone who was known as one of the greats. I mean, we've done some work, Chris, about the greatest players of all time and, who would be in your top 10. We didn't have John Part in our top 10, but you've got to give John an immense amount of credit for the fact that he was able to earn this amount of money through very tough times. When he won the 2003 World Championship at the Circus Tavern, it wasn't a massive amount of money. It wasn't the same as, say, when Rob Cross won his first World Championship in 2018. Very, very different sum of money. Ironically, the biggest check that he got was when he won in 2008, the very first Alexandra Palace, but that is where things really started to motor on. From that point to about 2014, 2015, the prize money for winning the World Championship would constantly increase, whereas John was in a period between 94 and 2008 where it didn't increase that much.
Okay, let's move on to the next section then. Let's get the graphic on screen. Paul, Chris, any names that jump out for you here? For me, Joe Cullen, obviously Bradford lad, done well. Nice to see him up there.
I think there's a lot of scope for Joe to embellish on this, but I look at someone like Terry Jenkins, someone who could definitely have won a lot more. Considering the amount of finals he was in, Chris, Dom, he should be a lot further up in this chart. But still, even without that huge title to be known by for the rest of your life, still a very good hoovering up of cash over the course of a career.
Yeah.
I mean, and as for Joe Cullen, we'll find out in another video we're doing about costly.
Yeah, it could be so much more.
Have
Yeah.
a hell of a lot more money. He's missed a lot of big match darts in his career. Obviously, a very famous one in the Premier League final. I mean, it's not too bad. I mean, if you offered me best part of 2 million and told me I could have won a bit more, I'd still be happy.
I think it's also dependent on the span of the career. Like we've talked about with Jose de Souza and Glenn Durrant, we're talking about windows of possibly around 5-6 years. You look at Terry Jenkins, we're looking at more like 15 to 20, maybe a little bit longer. With Joe Cullen, it's still got time to run. But if you're surpassing someone like Terry, you've done a good job. And Joe's got so much ability. And I think the fact that we bring up that it could have been better is a compliment to him because of the positions he's put himself in. Same goes for Terry. So they've got a lot in common.
Yeah. One player who you can't say he's put himself in a position to win a lot more and didn't is Steve Featon. He was going for years and years, all that record-breaking run of World Championship appearances, the most lucrative tournament. But because he didn't do very well in all those tournaments, it's a shame that a long career that he had didn't probably get them that much money in relative terms.
See, Steve Beaton is a player that I imagine, like we were speaking about earlier, is thinking, oh, I wish my career started so much later.
Or he just converted more of them. Because don't forget, he's been in the World Championship since, for years and years and years.
Yeah, since I was a young teenager, we're talking 93, 94.
Recent times when the prize money is up, but because of the relatively early exits, it's not banking big money.
Okay, well,
One of the things that people love about Steve Beaton is he is so happy-go-lucky. He's very grateful for what he has. He's not bitter about what he doesn't have.
Yeah.
Because he has a great life, and he's been able to do sensational things for the best part of more than 3 decades. But it's important to use Steve as an example here because the perception of dart players these days is different to what it's been like over the last 15, 20 years. So if you think about what Steve has earned, we've done a calculation that on average over his career, he's talking about £44,000 a year.
From prize money alone.
From prize money alone. Now, Steve's done a lot of exhibitions, had great sponsors and management deals over the course of his career, I'm sure. But when it comes to prize money alone, the perception is, if you've done it for that long, you're a multimillionaire. Not all dart players are in these cushy positions. Please swallow that because it's difficult for some. Maybe not as difficult nowadays because people come in and get a lot of money. But Steve Beaton, as an example, over the course of 3 decades, averaged less than £50,000 a year. So we're talking about multimillionaire? No, we're not.
Okay, before we move on to the next section, it is worth noting that this is just prize money alone. It's not endorsements, sponsorship deals, or any other deals. So this is just prize money. Moving on to the next section then, let's get the graphic on screen. This is the 22-11, and staggeringly, I cannot believe this already, Luke Littler is on that list already.
Yeah, it's to reach the two. Oh, you know, he's gone above 2 million in just over a year and a half at the time of recording. And you know, we talked about these long careers and why people are on this list because of the longevity, and he's there already. I mean, we don't need to talk about how amazing Littler is as a player, because that's how he's managed to do it. But I think it's more, well, is it more because he's just amazingly good, or is it more about the prize money they get that's allowed it?
It's a combination, Sean, isn't it? The improved prize money pool now, and then the fact that he is also an incredibly good darts player.
This is indicative of what you could potentially do if you've got a world-class ability right now. And this is why we are seeing more and more young kids asking their parents, can I go to a darts academy? And the parents are more than willing to take them because they see how much money he has made in such a short space of time. That in itself can be a good or a bad thing. It's a great thing for Luke because he's made a great deal of cash and done superb things in a short space of time for him and his family, put himself in a great position to take the financial burden away immediately. You take someone like Nathan Aspinall, for instance, the financial burden was there until he worked super, super hard to get it away. It took him a lot longer. And yeah, they can talk amongst each other as to how that story's gone for them.
On that subject, does it ever kill the passion or the desire or that real will to win once you hit that target, once you make enough money to be comfortable for the rest of your life?
I have heard one dart player very recently say that they were very happy milling along, earning 100 grand a year, being somewhere between 24th and 44th in the world and having a nice life. But then all of a sudden, something clicks as if to say, well, actually, I'm not happy living in that bubble. I want to be better. So if you take all of the money aspects away, it's about what you want to be remembered for. Do you want to be remembered for earning money? Or do you want to be remembered for doing great things under pressure and possibly inspiring other people to do the same? So when we talk about missed darts for titles, amount of money yielded over a career, weirdly, when you're on the stage, like the one that's behind us here, you don't think about the money at all. If you are, you're in real trouble because you're not focused on the job at hand.
Luke Littler, and I don't want to stick on the subject of Luke Littler for too long, but he's got that full package, hasn't he? He's got the desire, he's also making the money, and I've seen recent interviews where he's kind of nonchalant about the talent that he's got. He's like, well, maybe I'll carry on, maybe I won't.
I like the fact that he's got this somewhat carefree attitude because you can wake up in the morning and you can say, well, I want to compete today. Doesn't matter whether it's for a packet of squashies or 500 grand. That should be the same mindset. It's the competitive mindset. Phil Taylor used to have this. Mm-hmm. He might have been money hungry, and there's nothing wrong with that, but he's also title hungry and hungry to beat people up on the dob.
Yeah, I don't think Luke Littler gives the impression that he's just in it to earn money at all. I think, and if he's going to be remembered for anything over this period, it's that he has inspired the next generation of darts players.
At this time,
that's needed.
At this time, that's very, very important because he's done more for the sport in the last 2 years, alongside a couple of other people at the top of the rankings than maybe anybody has in the history of the sport. Maybe Sherrick needs a bit of a mention here because she's not anywhere near this list, and the effect she's had on the sport has been magnificent.
Absolutely, yeah. Let's get back to the list. Rob Cross, again, someone who's really benefited from the Premier League era of darts.
Yeah, and the world title, the world match play here. You know, this is a typical player that we'd see at high up in this list.
Just to give some sort of example as to how big an impact Rob Cross had in 2017 and the start of 2018, he earned in that calendar year more than I did my career.
Wow.
And it wasn't even that big of a gap. So we're talking about me finishing up in 2019. In his calendar year of 2017 and the World Championship culmination, he's earned what I did in the best part of a decade. So it's at this point, when Rob Cross joins the tour, things are starting to ramp up. 400 grand for winning the World Championship, and then other things would follow like Premier League. So his earnings would just snowball over the coming seasons. So joining the tour at just the right time, because that's when things were really starting to motor.
Chris, anyone else on this list?
Just quick, we've got to mention Dave Chisnall because he hasn't won a TV title for a major, despite all the finals he's been in. How much everyone would love him to have won one. So to be on so high up on this list, over 3 million in prize money without a major title, that just shows you can make a living out of this sport without even actually lifting a trophy.
Taking the Terry Jenkins model further, because they have very similar careers, but the one thing that Dave has done very well since 2012 is vacuum up these European tour titles, which these days, are earning you between, say, 25 and 30,000 pounds for winning them. So yes, he hasn't won a massive major title like a match play or a World Grand Prix or a World Championship, but he has won a lot of the events which are just below that. And his career as a whole may be remembered at the end for not winning that massive title, but maybe we should focus on all of the things he has won. It's an incredible career. And I just wonder what he wants his legacy to be. Is it going to be how much he earned, how much he won, or is it what he didn't win and what he didn't earn?
I mean, looking at that figure, if you were looking at your bank account, you're not going to be too bothered about what you won and didn't win, are you?
Well, that's if, like Paul said, are people in it for money or titles, and I'm assuming if once this sort of money becomes normal, you do probably just want to win titles. That's why you get in tennis and golf runners up crying, even though they're taking home a check for $500,000.
Sure.
You're used to that kind of money, so it is about the titles.
Okay, it's time to move into the juicy part of the video. It's the top 10, and we're going to go through them one by one, starting at the bottom of that top 10 with Luke Humphries, who's clearly benefited from this incredible last couple of years in his career.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about Luke Littler earning over 2 million in just a little over a year and a half. And Luke Humphries' run of winning majors didn't start that much before Littler came on the scene. So they've both hoovered up the lion's share of the big money in recent times. So I think on a par, if you start the count when Luke Littler came along, he's probably on a par with Littler for prize money.
Yeah, only 2 Premier League campaigns from Humphries as well. Only 2 from Littler. So they've maximised how much you can get from a Premier League campaign times 2, because they've made it to the final game a couple of times, shared one each. And that's a lot of money in the Premier League, with the £10,000 bonus for winning a week. And we're not talking about things like sponsorships and other deals that they have, but they're maximising the commercial aspects, which is something in previous times players were either not doing or were unable to do. So maybe that's one of the things that they're proud of. When this sport is in its current window, it's not just about turning up and getting prize money. You've got to maximise the kind of money you can make when you're not even awake. Make money while you sleep, but when you're awake, maximise that too. These 2 are a great example of that.
Let's go into number 9 then, Adrian Lewis, a player you've mentioned already.
Yeah, Adrian's had a great career, but could have won so much more. A couple of world titles, and if you think about how much he was earning for those world titles, it's not to the same degree as it is right now, but you think about coming into sport in the mid-noughties and then having that purple patch between, say, 2010 and 2015, where he was hoovering up titles wherever he went. I think this is a very fair reflection of the window that Adrian was playing in. We can talk about the personal aspects as to why he didn't play as much over the last few years, but he still made a huge living and was very commercially popular from an area of the country that yielded so many great dart players in the same sort of time frame.
I always feel frustrated. I'm a big Adrian Lewis fan. I think he's one of the greatest players to watch, and the matches he was involved in. But I always feel frustrated for him. He came along, Phil Taylor's still at his peak, Van Gerwen coming along. The peak Adrian Lewis now, well, he'd be winning stuff, wouldn't he? The peak one.
Yeah, I mean, the best version of Adrian, are we talking about when he won the European Championship? Yeah.
Just, I mean, footless version of him. He'd be prime for now. And the way the sport's grown.
Let's move on then to number 8 on this list, Barney, another fan favourite. raking £4.2 million in prize money, not too shabby.
Well, I know for a fact he probably, well, I say for a fact just because what he said in interviews. He said that, I think he begrudges that the prize money wasn't like it was when he was at the top of his game. I think he's thinking of what he could have won in this era.
I think when we talk about people who play for money and play for titles, as much as Raymond has won great titles, he's a bit of a mercenary. And I've said many, many times about Vincent van der Voort, who publicly has said, I play for money. I play for my family, I play for them and for me. There's nothing wrong with that, because this is a money business. You can win stacks of cash and look after you and the next generation of your family. There's nothing wrong with that. So when Raymond comes out and says, I wish it had been 500 grand for the Worlds when I was around, and obviously he's won 5 world titles. In the modern climate, it would have been £2.5 million. Very different in the late 90s, early noughties, and obviously when he won at the Circus Tavern in 2007, which was a long time ago now. So it does make you reflect. If only it was right now, but be grateful for what he did, not what, he's still around, he can still do it.
Michael Smith in at 7, Chris.
Yeah, I'm really happy to see him high up, as we all know he would be, because he's won world title, the Grand Slam, because of the problems he's had recently with his arthritis, and people are worried about whether he'll ever be the same again. Isn't it good to see he's managed to make as much as he did? Obviously, it's a shame he's gone through his issues, but he should look back and think, I've made a hell of a lot out of the sport in a very unfortunately... I'm not writing him off, by the way. I'm just saying it looks a bit sad at the moment for him.
Tomorrow is not a guarantee, so you've got to make the most of today. And we speak about Michael a lot. He loves his shoes. He's probably got the most expensive pair of shoes on the hockey. I think they were made by a famous brand that has red at the bottom, more noted for ladies' shoes. And you wouldn't believe some of the shoes, the wallets, the bags that some of the players have got now. Very different to what it was like 10, 15 years ago. But even the pet food bill of Michael Smith has been a talking point at some seasons in the last few years. But he has made a lot of money. Yeah. He's made an awful lot of money.
And as we'll talk about in another video about some costly match starts, it's a lot of titles he should have won. So he could have, another player who we could say could have put another $1 million on that. Quite comfortably.
Yeah, easily. But that's a mark of where we are in the sport right now. If you'd said 20 years ago, stick another $1 million on that, people would have said, from where?
Okay, let's move on. Number 6, going price.
Yeah, I mean, a blockbuster career. He started late, and again, come along at the right time. If you're going to start your career late in a sport, do it in darts, because he reached the top very quick. Well, I suppose not really, really quickly, because he came along a bit earlier than people expect. But in terms of hitting the big time with that Grand Slam of darts win, in that time, Premier League box office star and world title winner. So yeah, quite rightly high on this list, and I think this is probably where people would expect him to be.
If we talk about a player who has come into a sport, and obviously we know he played rugby, and that's not synonymous with high earners at the level that he played at, but he came into darts and very quickly found his way into majors and has sustained that for a decade. One of the smartest financial people this sport has, because you look at how much he's earned, he's probably worth more than that. How many of the top 10 or top 20 can say, I'm actually worth more than the earnings I have? I can confidently say that Gezi is. Property investment, business investment. He's always asking questions. He once turned to me in Hungary and said, how many premium bonds can you buy? And I had a conversation with him in Budapest about premium bonds. That's smart. And it's just looking after the future. It's not that he's money hungry, he's money smart. That's what I want to see from these top guys. If they've got a good team around them, you do really smart things, you're going to make a great life for yourself. And Price has done that with prize money, with commercial aspects, and other stuff as well.
So they say he's already found darts in his mid-20s? Yeah, I mean, you tell me another high-profile sport where you can just start playing it. With tennis, the boat is long gone.
Yeah.
Golf, any sport, football. So darts is very unique, and if as long as you can put in the effort like we've done in another video, It's never too late.
And I think a lot of the hate that Gezzy's had over the last 10 years has been through jealousy. Because you look at him, he looks like an athlete, he plays darts like a demon, and he's minted.
Let's move into the top 5 then. We're talking, I mean, it's all serious money at this point, but big money now. James Wade, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, his longevity in the sport. He did an interview the other day here at the World Match Play where he's saying, I'm 42, I'm just, only interested really in his family and everything. 42, feels like he's been around, he should be 62 for the amount of time he's been around. All the World Championships he's been in. It's been a remarkable career. I don't know how he just keeps turning up to do it, staying his top level, being the top 10 for as many years as he has been. It is absolutely unreal. And he's done this prize money without a World Championship final to his name, which is remarkable. But it's that longevity and the high quality nature of that longevity. He's had lean patches where he hasn't been winning majors and he has a resurgence. He's always there or thereabouts, isn't he, really, picking up money. So
Yeah.
that's why he's in the top 10.
One of the things that really piques my interest with James is that he always said he would have been a multi-millionaire if Phil Taylor wasn't around. And then as soon as he retires, Van Gerwen pops and he's got to contend with him. And now he's got to contend with the Lukes. So it's as if he's always had someone in his way of being a multi-millionaire. So when he says that money is not as important as his family, he's absolutely right. But it is on his mind. James has got a very, very nice timepiece. I'm sure that everybody can see that because he plays on television. He once said that he didn't like to wear dart shoes that weren't £200 or less. So he does have taste, but he doesn't put himself out there as a bright dart shirt wearing banner. He's very much an old school dart player. He plays in what he's comfortable in. He plays the game the way he sees fit. He doesn't change his kit every day. In fact, he doesn't change his kit every decade. It's just a case of turning up, doing his job, going home to his family. It's a very old school attitude, and it's yielded a very good career.
Interesting you've mentioned the trainers, because I did notice when I interviewed Luke Humphreys about 6 months ago, he wears Slazengers. Slazenger, 20 quid trainer from Sports Direct, said it's the most comfortable trainer to wear at the hockey.
And it's not about image for Humphreys. It's about functionality and precision.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with those Slazenger traders, by the way. I was just saying it's different ends of the scale, isn't it? 20 quid trainer, and James Wade saying he'll only wear a £200 trainer, and we've got Michael Smith wearing Louboutins on stage.
Yeah, they're 4 figures.
Yeah.
So very different between the two, but you got to use what works. Phil Taylor was the person who brought up the shoe debate, and that's for another time. But whether they cost 25 quid or £1,000, you've got to use what's right for the job. And predominantly, James Wade has done a very good job of that.
I'm waiting for the first barefoot darts player. I think that's when we'll know who's good and not.
A bit dangerous.
Only if you drop the dart. Right, in at number 4.
A friend of mine, actually, when I was playing darts, we were playing darts together in my bedroom. I didn't have shoes on. He just as a joke threw it towards my foot. It stuck in my heel.
Oh,
So that's why.
so it is dangerous, yeah. But I mean, he shouldn't have been doing that. Right, let's get into number 4 then. Gary Anderson, 5.5 million in prize money so far.
Yeah, again, won 2 world titles back to back. Not in the era where you can get like obviously it's going to be £1 million, but it's been 500 grand recently. But that still gave him a huge sort of leg up in his career earnings, and then he's won countless of the countless of the major titles. Again, the longevity. It's a mixture again, like we've seen with other names on this list. Longevity and regularly winning and contending for the big titles.
Gary's been a fabulous dart player for so many years. Everybody knows that. But he's been able to bridge generations. He had so much respect for Phil Taylor. And I'd be remiss to say that when he won his first world title, beating Taylor was important to him. Because he'd beaten him in something else about 8 years earlier, and it didn't get the gravitas that it really deserved. So when he started winning big titles in 2007 and then came to the PDC and started vaulting his way up the rankings, he's, in my opinion, the best player who's never been more than number 1, because his ability is sickeningly good. But what impresses me the most, I've known Gary a long time, and I've had my disagreements with Gary, but that's from a gladiatorial standpoint on the stage. Off the stage, I could sit with him right now and talk about money. And it's fascinating how smart he is. and people don't give him anywhere near the credit he deserves for how astute he has been, both on the hockey, in preparation, and commercially. And if you talk about the things he's done away from the hockey, everybody knows that he's invested in fishing lakes where he lives in Somerset. He's just a really, really clever guy, and he never gives his full hand away. So never play him at cards, because he will beat you.
I mean, you've often said he's in the nicest possible way, a mercenary, and that's probably why he's still playing and he hasn't retired yet. I think he's bemoaned the sport several times in interviews down the years. At the Worlds, he famously said he'd be off ski. Do you remember that interview where he's angry? And then here he was sort of saying how the tour's no fun, there's not enough banter anymore, how young players are just on their phones. So it's not like, I don't feel he's really enjoying the sport as much as he would have done in the past, but I guess he's sticking around because of the money.
Gary's a veteran, and one of the reasons why he's been around so long is because of the behaviours of players and the opportunities leading up to the 2020s. He knows the commercial and prize fund aspects are very attractive right now, but in an ideal world, Gary would like to be playing for the money that's in the sport right now, but maybe in the era of 2010 to 2015, when his pals were here, like Adrian, and he'd get on famously with Phil and some of the other players in this era. But things are different now. These youngsters are spending more time not talking in the practice room and zoning out. So Gary's missing something, but he's still trying to make that living in an atmosphere that is not ideal for him, and he's still doing it.
Okay, into the top three then, and the top three starts with the great Peter Wright, 6.2 million in prize money so far. What a player he's been for the sport.
Incredible. And if you think, again, all the final heartache he had to go through, the journey for him to finally win a major, all those defeats he suffered to MVG, kept going and going. And then eventually when he starts winning his major titles, his world titles, that's when the big money was available. So he's shot up this list. Deservedly so, because of all the patience and the heartache and the battle scars and the brilliance he produced to get to the top. But he did it perfect timing.
Speaking about perfect timing, I remember the 2014 World Championship. He made the final game with Van Gerwen, and ultimately they'd have maybe the best rivalry of the last generation. But if he doesn't win that final, if he doesn't make that final, I beg your pardon, he's walking away. That's what we know. It's common knowledge, but think in retrospect the amount of money he would have missed out on had he not progressed in that tournament, because he was at the stage with his family life and the financial situation that they had. Right, it's this tournament, or post January the 1st, 2014, we're going to do something else. And Peter's probably going to go back to doing building work and all sorts of other stuff that he's really good at. He's probably the strongest person in the top 10 here, but you ever seen his forearms like Popeye? It's ridiculous. So this wouldn't have happened if it hadn't been for the 2014 final. Making a lot of money right there changed everything, and the snowball effect was outrageous. Over 6 million in earnings alone is an astonishing effort from one of the most meticulous players this sport has ever seen. And maybe the only people scratching their heads right now are the people that have provided him with darts equipment, because he might have used 6.2 million versions of his own setup.
Okay, the top two. In number 2, Phil Taylor, Chris.
Yeah, now we have to say this list isn't who's the greatest player ever.
It's the highest earners.
It's the highest earners. So if you think pounds per title, he's won more titles than everyone else. So he probably hasn't got quite as much value out of it as we're going to reveal with number 1 player in this list. But what more can you say? I mean, the 7.7 million we calculated it at, but a hell of a lot more in everything else it does with being the best player in the world.
You've got to give him so much credit, because he was able to amass a fortune through very difficult times. He would make the first final in the PDC World Championship in 1994, and they'd walk away with nothing. They'd walk away with shares. And ultimately those shares years later would be very valuable, and a lot of them would be sold later on, which is the right thing you got to do when it's the right share price. But it's the ability to amass this fortune through a generation where the money wasn't terrific like it is now. When he was winning £25,000 for winning something like this at the Winter Gardens, or something less for winning in North America or a European Championship, it wasn't 6 figures, it was 5 figures, and it probably wasn't anywhere near the top end of 5 figures, but he was winning that many times that it was constant. Another event, another event, another event, and he didn't even play that much away from the cameras. So being able to do this in the generations that he played in, it just goes to show how dominant he was.
Do you think when you're a player of Phil Taylor's ability, and it's obviously there's a lot of natural ability there, but obviously the work that goes into it, do you think when you're that good, you're addicted to getting the next prize? It's like a cheat code almost, like, well, if I play that tournament, I'll get another 50 grand. If I play this one, 400 grand. You're just, like you said, constantly going on to the next one because you're just seeing that money accrue every time you play.
It's the attitude of, if I go to this tournament, what is the top prize? And let's say, for argument's sake, in his generation, the top prize was £20,000. He walks away with less than that. He's not happy. That £20,000 is mine. I'm going to get it. If I don't get it, someone is going to be very, very unhappy, and that person is going to be me. That was his attitude. He didn't look at the runners-up prize because he wasn't interested in it. And predominantly, he would get top prize.
Here's a question for you though. What his standard just went through the roof from 2008 onwards, 2007, 2008. Was that because he could sense more prize money coming in, or was it just a challenge of new stars arriving, James Wade's, and then eventually Gary Anderson, Michael Van Gogh? Were they inspiring him, or was it the money going up?
It's a myriad of things. One, the money aspect absolutely made him hungry because he wanted to create himself as the power, and the fact that the guy is going to earn the most money that any dart player ever would. That has been surpassed now because of the way that the sport has materialized. But does he earn that much money if he doesn't have competition? You can't just have one person in a sport holding it up forever. You need people to push that person on to keep them motivated. That person was Raymond van Barneveld. Other people came like Michael van Gerwen and Gary Anderson and Adrian Lewis. They constantly pushed him to get better. His standard from 2008 to around about 2017 did improve because he worked with manufacturers to get the right equipment in his hand. He had the right mindset. He was hungry, and that's why it lasted so long. And that's why his fortune amassed to where it was.
Did he ever say anything to you when you took a few quid off him?
No, he didn't, because I think he had enough.
Okay then, in at number 1, the highest prize money earner in darting history to date, Michael van Gerwen.
And what's staggering is, it's not only that he went ahead of Phil Taylor, despite the head start that Phil Taylor would have had, but it's around 4 million more.
Well, as you can see on the graphic, yeah, 11.8 million today. Phil Taylor, 7.7 million. That is a staggering amount of money. When you look at the top 10, it starts with Rob Cross, Luke Humphreys on 3.4 million. The top earner is on nearly 12 million. It's absolutely incredible.
You know how you have conversations about transfer fees in football, and who was the first £1 million player? Trevor Francis.
Yeah.
Who was the first £10 million player in the world? That was Jean-Pierre Papin from Marseille to AC Milan. The first £10 million earner in the sport was Michael van Gerwen, and that will be forever known.
Yeah.
But he's already kicked it up to around about the 12 million mark, and that's because he's taken advantage of the right time, but also harnessed his talent and used it at exactly the right moments.
He's literally won every possible major in multiple times. That sweet spot where you won 24 in a year. Not majors, but this overall titles.
And wherever he went, he would win.
It was frightening. I don't think, even Littler and Humphreys, I don't think they'll ever get to that level of winning well over 20 titles in one calendar year.
Incredible. I know that that's not the point of the video. This is about prize money, but it is worth mentioning the money he must have made from merchandise, because there's a period where nearly everybody you saw in the arenas was wearing MVG gear, had the dartboards in toy shops, it was everywhere. That on top of the 11.8 million, I mean, he's going to be pretty comfortable, and so his family for generations, I imagine.
Yeah, he even made a joke of it once. He went to New Zealand or Australia. It was a big sports shop called Rebel Sport, and he would ask the person in the shop, "Have you got any dartboards?" They walked him over to a dartboard, and it was actually his face on it, and they had a bit of a laugh. So it just goes to show the commercial aspect of MVG is not just in the Netherlands, in the UK, worldwide. When you're a worldwide entity, you can make wealth by doing, but also by endorsing.
I've got one question to ask Paul before we finish. It's going to be a race between Humphreys and Littler. Bear in mind, we've got the amounts I've got on this list now. Who's going to get to number one first, if either of them do? And how long will it take?
Realistically speaking, by about 2032, 33.
It'll take that long?
It might take that long. It depends on how many increases we get with prize money over the next few years, because we might have a plateau period, which would be completely fair. If it does increase a little bit more, I'm going to say Humphreys.
Humphreys will get.
And I think Humphreys will just get there because I think he might play a little bit more and yield a little bit more. And I think his sustainability skills will get him to the number one spot, maybe by 2032.
Well, who do you think will be? Who do you think, I mean, it looks inevitable, doesn't it, that one of the Luke Littler or Humphreys will make the top of this earning list ahead of Michael van Gerwen at some point in the future? Who do you think it will be? Let us know in the comments. And how long do you think it will take as well? We'd love to hear from you. That's it for this video. That's the rundown of the top 40 earners, prize money earners in darting history. Like I said, let us know in the comments what you think, if you think Chris and Paul were wrong in any of their assessments of each of those players, and let us know who you think is going to top that list in the future. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel as well for more videos like this, including another video we're recording today about the costliest darts misses in darting history. That's all to come on the Sporting Life channel. Don't forget to subscribe, and for everything else darts, visit sportinglife.com/darts.